Good morning and happy afternoon, 7th graders, depending on what time you are watching this video. This is Mrs. Oliver bringing you today's lesson. So today's lesson is complex fractions. This is in our textbook, and you're actually going to need your textbook today for today's guided practice and homework. Okay, so if you have volume 1 textbook, go ahead and grab that and then come back. All right, so today we are going to compute a unit rate, which we talked about unit rates earlier this week. Okay, so we're using unit rates, but this time we are going to use what we call complex fractions. Okay, so we need to take a complex fraction and simplify it. Okay, so that means we're not giving answers as improper fractions. Okay, and sometimes we may even get whole numbers. So what we've already done. We have already been computing our rational numbers, okay, taking a mixed number, dividing it with another mixed number. All right, our unit rates we know is when we have two different units that we are comparing, and we want to find out how much is it for one of our denominator. So if we wanted to find out what it is for 1 hour, how many miles do they go? And that's where we need to multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, so this is on page 19 in your textbook, example 3. We have Josiah can jog for 1 1/3 miles in 1/4 hour. Find his average speed in miles per hour. And when they say average speed, that means how far can he go in 1 hour? Okay, so we write a rate that compares the number of miles to hours. Remember, that kind of means that we are taking it and writing as a fraction. Miles to hours, so we are dividing. Miles per hour, that's already setting it up for what should be as your numerator and what should be your denominator. Okay, and as we look through the example then, so they set it up with our miles and then our hours. But we know we can't multiply with a mixed number. So they got to do the Concord C to turn the 1 1/3 into our 4/3. Then they rewrite it as that we're dividing by 1/4. But remember, we can't really divide by fractions, okay? Not using paper at least. So what we have to do is we have to turn it into the improper fraction. Okay, so we did that there, and then we multiply by our reciprocal of 1/4. Well, remember the reciprocal is what you would multiply to get 1. So they flip 1/4 to get your 4. Then you multiply across. There wasn't any way to cross cancel. So 4 times 4 got our 16. 3 times 1 got the 3. And then remember, for your improper fractions, take your top number, your numerator, and divide it by your denominator. The top number becomes your whole number. So that's where the 5 came from. And 3 times 5 is 15. And whatever number is on the bottom, that is our numerator now. And then 3, of course, stays the same. Okay. All right, let's look at example 5 on the next page, page 20. On Javier's soccer team, about 33 1/3% of the players have scored a goal. We need to write 33 1/3 as a fraction in simplest form. So they're not asking us to find a unit rate, but it has the same concept because we cannot keep 33 1/3 as a percent. We want to put it as a fraction. Okay, so something we need to remember is all percents are out of 100. If I ate 50% of a pizza, how much of the pizza was there to begin with? Well, the whole thing. So you take your fraction, or not your fraction, your percent, and it goes on top of your fraction, your numerator, and your denominator stays 100. Then we can take our 33 1/3 and divide it by 100. Turn your 33 1/3 into a improper fraction. So 33 times 3 is 99, plus 1 is 100. So then we still need to divide it by 100 though, but we're going to do the same concept. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal. Then while we do that, we notice we have those two hundreds that are diagonal from each other, where we cross cancel, cross reduce. Okay, so they both become ones. So you're left with only a 1/3. Okay, so 1/3 of Javier's soccer team scored a goal. So let's do a quick talk about this. How were these two problems similar? Well, they both had mixed numbers. They both had where we had to multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, we both got some type of fraction form answer. But how were they different? Well, the first one, example 3, was actually a unit rate problem. Okay, whereas the other one was a percent problem. The one on example 5, you've actually had some cross canceling you could do. Okay, and plus they only gave us 1 unit in our word problem for number 5, whereas for number 3 they gave us 2 units. So that's where you, same concept, even though the problems are written out differently. Okay, so let's go to our next page, or actually, nope, still on page 20. We're going to go to the guided practice before you hop into your homework. All right, so our guided practice, we have simplify 18 divided by 3/4. Okay, so I'm going to do number 1 and number 2 with you. I'm pretty sure you can do number 3 on your own by pausing it and then coming back. Okay, so let's look. Remember, this is 18 over 1 divided by 3/4. But we really need to change it to be 18 times 4/3. And then we want to look, is there any way I can cross cancel? 1 and 4, nope. What about 3 and 18? Can 3 go into 18? It can. How many times? 6. So we really just have 6 times 4. So we get our answer as 24. All right. Now, if you look, you can kind of tell which ones are the bigger lines here. Okay, that's how I know that that was 18 and not 18/3. Okay, you a little bit slightly bigger, so we know where we're dividing. So I'm really taking, and so there's a 1 under this 4. So I'm going to take my 3/6. I'm going to go ahead and take it and multiply by the reciprocal of 1/4. Now there is nothing I can cross cancel here. My 3 and 4 have no common factors. Okay, and 3 can't go into 4. So we get 3/24. All right, I bet you could pause this and come back and have your answer for the next one. All right, so if you just came back, I got 1 and 1/3. Do not keep it improper. Okay, remember we always want to answer it in simplest form, and so that means you have to use your mixed numbers for your answer. Okay, did you remember to flip your 1/4 to 4/1? All right, let's go to our next one. Word problems. Okay, the Pep Club members are making spirit buttons. They are making 490 spirit buttons in 3.5 hours. Find the number of buttons they can make per hour. So when we set this up, we want our buttons on top, and how many can we make in an hour? Okay, so we have 490 buttons, and we're going to divide that. I'm going to go ahead and turn this improper. 6 times, or 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7 halves. So what that means I really need to do is this is 490 divided by my 7/2. But am I really dividing? No, we're going to go ahead and switch that to 490 over 1, because it's a whole number, times, and then flip your 7/2 to 2/7. Now let's look. Is there anything I can cross cancel? 490 is a big number. Any possible way that 7 actually goes into that? Well, I know 7 times 7 is 49. If I have 7 times 70, that will give me that. So then I just have to take 70 times my 2. And that gives me 140. And of course, this is a word problem. So let's give word problem sentence to go with it. So they can make our 140 buttons per hour. Okay. All right. Next one. We have that the county sales tax is 6 2/3%. We need to write this percent as a fraction. Okay. So first thing I'm actually going to do with this is I'm going to turn this into an improper fraction. Okay. Take your 3 times 6 and then add our 2. So 18. So we get 20/3. Now that we are going to divide by 100, because remember, percents are all out of 100. So that really means we're taking our 20/3 times, and then flip your fraction. Some of you might remember it from 6th grade being told keep, change, flip. Okay? But remember, the actual term is multiplying by the reciprocal. Now look, 3 and 1 are prime. I cannot simplify that anymore. But what about my 20 and 100? Well, 20 can go into 100. Okay? That takes, if somebody gave you 5 20s, you have $100 then. So we get 1/15. And that is in simplest form. It's a proper fraction and does not need to be reduced any more than it needs to be. Okay? So take a moment now and think. What is a complex fraction? What is it? What does it look like? Well, this is fractions that have fractions as a numerator, denominator, or both. Okay, some have fractions for both. Some have only a fraction in one of the sections. All right, that is what a complex fraction looks like. All right, so let's talk about your homework. Your homework is doing problems 1 through 13 on the next page of page 21. Okay, remember to set them up so that you know what you're actually dividing by. Okay, so this is my bigger fraction bar right there. So that tells me I have 1/1 being divided by my 2/3. Then do your multiplying by the reciprocal. Oh wait, yeah, I had to make sure double check myself. I was like, wait, is that right? Is that wrong? Well, what is 1 times any number? That number, right? So we really get 3/2 for our answer, but that's not how we can answer it. That's how we answer it, 1 1/2. Okay, So keep that lookout for where your actual fraction line is. It is always the bigger line. Okay? So go through problems 1 through 13. I will say the problems 10 through 12, 10, 11, and 12 are just like number 5. Okay? Okay, so make sure you go through those.